Hey everyone, ready for something pretty interesting? Today we are diving deep into this book called The Ringing Radiance,
Mm.
and it's all about Saint Mat teachings. Have you
Yeah.
ever felt like there's like something more to life, like a deeper connection out there waiting to be discovered?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Saint Mat offers a unique perspective on that very feeling,
Hmm.
and it focuses on connecting our soul
Right.
to what they call the audible life stream or the ringing radiance.
It's a path,
Ooh,
you know, also known as Surat Shabd Yoga. And it all revolves around connecting the Surat,
okay.
which is your soul, to this Shabd.
The Shabd. Yeah, you can think of it as like this cosmic current of sound.
Okay.
But not just any sound. This is the sound that Sant Mat says created and sustains everything.
So it's more than just a force, right? It's like
Yes,
the source itself.
it is the source itself.
Okay.
The book describes it as ringing radiance,
Wow.
almost like pure vibrating love.
Okay.
It's a concept
The
that's...
big concept.
Uh,
It's hard to wrap our minds around, but uh, the book actually gives this really helpful comparison.
okay.
It says that trying to understand this power with just our intellect
Mm-hmm.
is like trying to measure the universe with a ruler.
I like that puts things in perspective. Okay, so
Yeah.
we've got this powerful sound current,
Yes.
but where does our soul fit into all of this?
Well, Sant Mat starts with the idea that we each have a soul.
Oh.
Something that, we can feel, but we can't scientifically prove.
Right.
It's that intuitive sense of
Wow.
me that's separate from our physical body.
The book uses a really powerful analogy to describe this.
Oh, yeah?
It says our soul is like a delicate silk cloth snagged on a thorn bush. If you try to yank it free, you
Yeah.
just rip it to shreds.
Exactly. You can't force it.
Right.
It's about carefully and patiently disentangling ourselves from the material world.
Okay.
You see, in Sant Mat, they believe that our soul gets caught up in what they call Maya. And Maya is like this illusion, this distraction that makes us forget our true nature.
Like getting so caught up in the day-to-day that we lose sight of the bigger picture.
Precisely.
Okay.
It's like a prince in this story from the book The Robe of Glory.
Okay.
He goes on this quest for a pearl, which represents self-knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
but he becomes so focused on the journey and the challenges
Yeah.
that he completely forgets who he truly is.
He forgets his purpose.
He forgets his purpose.
Wow.
It's a powerful metaphor for how we can get lost in the illusion of the material world
Hmm.
and forget our connection to that ringing radiance.
Wow, that's pretty profound.
Yeah,
So if we're all tangled up in this illusion, how do we even begin to find our way back?
that's where the idea of the master comes in.
Okay.
And St. Mat the Master is like a guide,
Yeah, okay.
someone who's already navigated this path and can help others find their way.
Okay, but there are a lot of people out there claiming to be spiritual gurus.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
How do we know if a master is the real deal?
That's a great question, and it's one that the book addresses head on.
Okay.
It emphasizes that initially,
Yeah.
trust in a master should be based on a couple of things.
Okay.
First, how deeply their teachings resonate with you personally,
Okay.
and second, the results you experience through meditation under their guidance.
So it's not just about blind faith.
Right,
There's personal experience involved.
exactly.
Okay.
And this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The book suggests that the master actually embodies the Shabd,
Hmm.
that sound current we were talking about.
Wait, hold on. They embody the sound. How is that even possible?
It seems mind-boggling at first,
Yeah.
but think back to what we discussed earlier about our limited understanding of the universe.
Yeah.
Even scientifically, we know that what we perceive as solid is actually made up of tiny particles
Right.
vibrating at incredible speeds.
So are they saying that the master is somehow vibrating at a different frequency?
The book doesn't go into specific scientific explanations,
Okay.
but it uses this idea to illustrate that our perception of reality can be limited.
Okay.
What we see as solid might not be the whole picture.
I see what you mean. It's like there's a deeper level of reality that
Yeah.
we're not usually tuned into.
Exactly.
But if the master embodies this Shabd, this creative force,
Yes.
how does that affect our own journey back to our source? So the master is connected to this ringing radiance,
Right.
and we're trying to find our way back to it.
Mm-hmm.
But how does that actually work? What's the process?
The key, according to Sant Mat, is meditation.
Okay.
And not just any meditation.
Right.
It's a specific practice called bhajan.
Bhajan.
Yeah. And it involves tuning into the inner sound current.
Okay.
that Shabd the master embodies.
So instead of focusing on the breath, like in some types of meditation where you're listening for this inner sound.
Exactly.
That sounds pretty challenging.
It can be.
What does the sound even like?
Well, the book describes it as being incredibly subtle at first, almost impossible to distinguish from the usual noise of our thoughts
Right.
and surroundings.
It's like trying to hear a whisper in a hurricane.
It really is.
Okay.
But with practice, you
Yep.
can start to discern it.
Okay.
And the master's there to help you through this process, making sure you don't get overwhelmed by the intensity
Right.
as you become more sensitive to it.
That makes me think of those stories about musicians who can hear music and everyday sounds like the hum of traffic
Oh, yeah.
or the wind in the trees.
Exactly. It's like developing a new kind of hearing,
Okay.
a deeper listening
Mm-hmm.
that attunes you to the subtler vibrations of reality.
And as you progress, the book says the sound can manifest as light, too.
Yes.
Really?
Inner radiance that's beyond our normal perception.
Okay. I have to admit I'm a little skeptical.
Yeah.
I mean, I've tried meditating before,
Mhm.
and my mind is like a room full of monkeys. How am I supposed to hear some subtle cosmic sound over all that racket?
That's a common experience.
Yeah.
And the book acknowledges that it takes practice.
Okay.
And patience, it's not about instantly achieving a silent mind,
Right.
but about gently guiding your attention back to the sound current whenever you get distracted.
So it's like training a puppy.
Yeah,
You keep bringing it back to its bed, even if it runs off 100 times.
exactly.
Yeah.
And just like with any skill, the more you practice, the easier it becomes.
Okay.
The book compares it to refining gold.
Okay.
It takes heat and pressure
Yeah.
to remove the impurities and reveal the true brilliance beneath.
But what about the ringing radiance part? What does the sound actually sound like? Does the book give any hints?
They don't go into specifics.
Okay.
One passage says it's like the music of the spheres,
Okay.
an ethereal melody
Mhm.
that resonates with your very soul.
Okay.
Others describe it as a symphony of light and sound beyond anything we can imagine.
Wow.
It's more about the feeling, the experience of connecting with something vast and profound.
It sounds almost too good to be true. Like,
Yeah.
what if I put in all this effort and never experience this amazing sound and light show?
Mhm.
What if it's all just a bunch of mumbo jumbo?
That's where faith and trust in the teachings come in.
Okay.
But remember, the book emphasizes that even a fleeting glimpse of this Shabd, even for a moment,
Yeah.
can be incredibly transformative.
So it's not about achieving some perfect state of enlightenment.
Right.
Just a glimpse can make a difference.
Exactly. It's about the journey, the process of opening yourself to a new way of perceiving reality.
I see.
It's like catching a ray of sunshine on a cloudy day.
Mm-hmm.
It might not last long, but it reminds you that the sun is still there shining behind the clouds.
I like that analogy. It feels hopeful.
Yeah,
Like, even if I'm a meditation mess, there's still a chance I can experience this connection.
absolutely.
But we've talked a lot about the individual journey. What about the bigger picture? We touched on this earlier, the idea that ultimately everything is connected.
Yes, that's a core concept in Sant Mat.
Okay.
It goes beyond just connecting with the Shabd. It's about realizing that there's only oneness, one ultimate reality.
Okay.
And if that's true,
Yeah.
then the soul, the master, the Shabd,
Yeah.
they're not really separate entities.
Right.
They're all aspects of the same divine whole.
That's pretty mind-blowing.
It
So
is.
it's not about reaching out to some external God, but about recognizing the divine within ourselves and everything around us.
You got it.
Wow.
It's about realizing that we are part of that ringing radiance,
Okay.
that symphony of creation,
Uh-huh.
and always have been. We just need to remember how to listen.
Okay, I'm starting to get this.
Good.
But I have one more question about this idea of oneness.
Sure.
If everything is ultimately one wonder, what happens to individual souls? Do we just merge back into some cosmic blob?
That's a great question, and it gets to the heart of some of the deeper philosophical mysteries that Sant Mat explores.
Okay.
We're getting into some pretty profound territory here.
That's what I love about these deep dives. Let's unpack this further, shall we? Okay, so if I'm understanding this right, Sant Mat suggests that ultimately we're all part of this one ringing radiance.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, what happens to individuality? Do we just dissolve back into the source like a drop in the ocean?
That's a question that has puzzled philosophers and mystics for centuries.
Mm-hmm.
The book doesn't offer a simple, definitive answer.
Right. Or
It kind of hints at the idea that our individual consciousness, that sense of me, doesn't disappear entirely.
Right.
It's more like it expands and merges with a greater awareness.
So it's not about losing ourselves, but becoming more than ourselves.
Exactly. It's like a drop of water merging with a vast ocean.
Okay.
It retains its essence, but also becomes part of something much greater.
Right.
But honestly, the true nature of this unity is something you can only fully grasp through direct experience,
Yeah.
not just intellectual understanding.
That makes sense. Like trying to describe the taste of chocolate to someone who's never had it. No matter how many words you use, they won't truly get it until they take a bite.
That's a great analogy, and that brings us back to the importance of the path.
Okay.
The practice is the guidance of the master. It's about gradually shifting our perception, refining our awareness, so we can experience this reality for ourselves.
You know, listening to all this, I can't help but wonder, are there any potential downsides or challenges on this path?
Oh, yeah,
It
sure.
all sounds pretty amazing, but is there a catch?
That's a really important question to ask.
Yeah.
Whenever you're exploring any spiritual path, and the book does acknowledge that this journey isn't always easy.
Right.
It requires commitment, discipline, and a willingness to confront your own inner obstacles.
So it's not just about blissing out in meditation all day long.
Not quite. Remember that analogy of refining gold?
Right, yeah.
There's a purification process involved.
Okay.
The book says that as you start to connect with the Shabd, you become more aware of the ways you've become entangled in Maya,
Yeah.
that illusion of separation and ego.
So it's not just about adding something new, but also about letting go of old patterns and beliefs.
Exactly. It's about shedding those layers that keep you separate from experiencing your true nature.
Right.
And that can be a challenging, even uncomfortable process at times.
It makes me think of those snakes that shed their skin as they grow. It's got to feel a bit weird and vulnerable for a while.
That's a great image. And the book talks about the importance of having patience and compassion for yourself.
Right.
During those times, it emphasizes that the master is there to support you, to help you navigate those challenges.
That brings up another question. We've talked a lot about the importance of the master.
Yeah.
But what about the potential for abuse of power? Sadly, we've seen that happen in a lot of spiritual groups.
It's true.
Does the book address that at all?
It's a valid concern. And while the book doesn't explicitly mention those kinds of situations,
Okay.
it does emphasize the importance of discernment.
Okay.
It encourages you to listen to your inner voice, to question, to not blindly follow anyone,
Right.
even a spiritual teacher.
So it's about finding a healthy balance between trust and critical thinking.
Yes. And it reminds us that ultimately we are responsible for our own spiritual journey.
Yeah.
The master can guide us, but we have to do the inner work.
It sounds like Sant Mat encourages a sense of personal empowerment, not blind obedience.
Absolutely. It's about becoming your own authority, trusting your own intuition and connection to the divine within.
Wow, this deep dive has really opened my eyes to a whole new way of thinking about spirituality.
Yeah.
It's definitely given me a lot to ponder. What about you? What's resonated most with you today?
For me, it's that idea of the ringing radiance, that sense that there's this underlying symphony of love and creation connecting us all. It's a beautiful concept.
Yeah.
And it makes me want to explore that connection further through meditation and inner listening.
Me too. It's like we've been given a glimpse of a hidden world, a deeper reality just waiting to be discovered.
Right.
And it makes me wonder, what would it feel like to fully tune into that ringing radiance? To experience that oneness directly. It's almost like a challenge, an invitation to explore further.
It is an invitation, isn't it? An invitation to listen a little deeper, to pay attention to those subtle whispers of the soul.
Right.
Who knows what wonders we might discover if we open ourselves to that possibility.
What a beautiful thought to leave our listeners with. This has been a truly fascinating exploration. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Sant Mat. Maybe it sparked a sense of wonder in you too. Perhaps it's even inspired you to explore your own connection to that ringing radiance within. Until next time, keep seeking, keep exploring, and keep listening.